So Nini told me to watch this expose of this town or this suburb called Southlake in Texas. And I was supposed to check it out back in August. But with the doctor's appointments, I just haven't had time. So I'm gonna listen to this piece over here, and I'm gonna read a excerpt. It says, question: Is Southlake, Texas snobby? Overall, Southlake could be a nice place to live, but there is a complete lack of diversity that is extremely toxic to live in if you are not white. A vast majority of residents are snobby and ignorant, but the way the snobs act around their friends seems like a nice atmosphere to be in. Typical bullshit. This is why white America's numbers are dwindling. And they want to say CRT is racist. No, CRT is pretty much everything like the United States, which is anti-black. Let's just keep it a buck. Hope you enjoy this.
Did it again. Verizon has been named America's most reliable network by RootMetrics, and our customers rated us #1 for network quality in America, according to J.D. Power, proving there's only one best network.
It wasn't until my daughter went off to college that I started to hear things.
For the second time in a matter of months, students from Southlake caught on camera using racial slurs.
It's been covered up for a very long time.
Policy changes.
Racism in reverse is racism.
It's critical race theory. I mean, it is a nice place to live if you're willing to overlook what's underneath the surface.
Southlake, Texas, a suburb 30 miles northwest of Dallas, population of 32,000. The average house goes for over $1 million. The typical family makes around $240,000. It's home to high-powered executives, pro athletes, and the upwardly mobile. At Carroll Independent School District, students sweep state championships, and it's consistently ranked among the top school districts in Texas. In 2020, about 2/3 of Southlake voters backed Donald Trump. Nearly 3 out of 4 of its residents are white, but that's changing. In the last few decades, Southlake has seen a growing Asian and Latino population. Hundreds of Black families have also moved in, but they still make up less than 2% of residents here.
You know what's funny? When I talk to my friends, their children, their dream is to go off, see a little of the world, and then come back home to Southlake. And I don't have a child like that. They just want out of here.
So this is my oldest, Shani, and she is a doctor, and she's doing a fellowship at Vanderbilt. This is Kaylee, just finishing up a master's program, and she has a double business degree at Syracuse. Then this is Kayan, he's a freshman at Rice. And this is TJ, he's a sophomore at Carroll High School. They've done very well here. But they all have also suffered from some of the problems in our school district. My kids have scars from going to school here.
Why you moved there?
That should not happen.
To be accepted. Dumbass.
I remember when I moved to Southlake, it was 2017. It was lonely for a long time. I would just float around the school, not really speaking to a lot of people. When I got my acceptance letter from USF, I just knew that that was where I had to go. I didn't apply to any schools in Texas because I knew that's not where I wanted to be. It's a really cool school. And they have like a lot of programs to support Black students. At the end of the day, I'll never be one of those Carol alumni who's like, I was a dragon. I loved being a dragon. Like, I had the greatest experience. Out of all the things that you have to deal with as a high schooler, it's already hard enough. But to deal with a whole like chunk of racism on top of that, it's just not fair.
Going to. All right. Oh, there's my sign. Yes. Oh, there's another sign in there. Awesome. I love this street. I should probably move. Come here to Southlake and it's just insane the amount of signs on every corner, all the avenues, houses, 200. I'm not a politician. I have no experience at all. Fine. For me, this phrase is about our kids. If we lose, we're denying our kids a voice. Hi guys, my name is Ed Fernandez. Hello, how are you? I'm running for the school board. We need to be more welcoming, more inclusive. I believe that we need to keep our kids safe in school. 13 more houses to go. Last chance is Saturday. I really, really, really need it. No. If I learn anything in this election is when people tell you what you want to hear.
So I will call to order a special meeting of the Carroll ISD Board of Trustees at 8:31 a.m. on November 2nd, 2018. As we understand it today, there are a number of you and members of our community that would like to address CISD in regard to a video that contained a racial slur that was posted on social media last week.
I believe it was a Saturday morning where I started getting text messages about this video. Is it true? Are these really Southlake kids?
It was just after homecoming. I just remember a lot of people were posting it on their stories, reposting it. Some of the people that had posted it were contacted by the school and told to take the video down.
See some kids having a good time, basically at the expense of my children, hurts. They might have meant no harm, but they caused harm.
Our core values do mean something here at Carroll ISD. As dragons, we expect excellence, and that begins with how we treat each other. So with that, I will open the floor to public comments.
So the video came out, then there was a lot of discussion on what to do now.
My children were told growing up in this school district when Rosa Parks died, they were told, Rosa Parks is dead. You all have to sit in the back of the bus. My oldest son was told in 6th grade, hey Frankie, how do you get a black out of a tree? You cut the rope. When he was in the 5th grade, a young boy told him, hey Brandon, why are you even here? Why don't you just go back to Africa?
And she kept poking him with pencil, saying, you can't feel this because you've got that tough black skin, until the pencil lead broke into his skin.
People are looking at this one incident saying, wow, it's one incident. It's one time that this has occurred. And what we just heard is it's not.
That video has been seen by over 3 million people online. Your response to this is going to be watched by not just this community, but by the world.
If you see a black family in this community, just trust me when I say they are struggling with the decision to keep their kids in this district.
Parent after parent took to the microphone, and later that fall, the school board formed a district diversity council of 63 parents, students, and staff. Nikki was recruited, and Angela quickly volunteered. The school board tasked the new committee with creating the CCAP, the Cultural Competence Action Plan. They would spend the next 18 months working on the plan. It was a 34-page document that called for strengthening the student code of conduct to hold students accountable for acts of discrimination. It proposed cultural awareness training for Carroll's staff and students and sought to establish a formal process for reporting and tracking microaggressions and discrimination at school. Finally, it recommended hiring a director of equity and inclusion to oversee the district's efforts.
Our goal in Carroll ISD is to create cultural competence. And that means the ability to understand, communicate, and effectively interact with people across all cultures.
Carroll ISD, creating an environment that fosters excellence.
So August 2020, we knew we were going to present the CCAP. I thought it was going to be easy and present it, accept it, implement it, and move on. But a lot of things happened over the summer.
I was like, this is crazy. And I know this is way bigger than me, but I can't just sit around and do nothing. We should do this. We should go on protest. Shops nearby in town square had people boarding up their windows, and then the school did not do any better.
The school board sent an email notifying parents that students were organizing a peaceful protest following the death of George Floyd. And while the school supported their right to do so, they had significant safety concerns. The letter goes on to say that many students probably do not know or understand much about the organizations they're supporting, and that their efforts could be overshadowed by individuals who believe violence is the only way to be heard.
It's also heartbreaking to see how many of my friends have told me countless stories of ways people in the city have made them feel small. We fight for our children will have to feel the same way we do now, unsafe and unheard.
Then the pandemic was wearing on, and then the election for president was becoming pretty divisive. So that's the backdrop.
All rise, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
So with that, I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of Carroll ISD on Monday, August 3rd, 2020 at 4:02 p.m. The District Diversity Council is presenting their plan. It does not mean that the full plan as presented is approved, and it does not mean funding to implement the plan is approved. Okay. Here we go.
Over the next several months, people flooded school board meetings. While parents condemned racism, many also spoke out against the CCAP. Its opponents said that the existing student code of conduct already banned bullying of any kind, and by putting so much emphasis on race, the diversity plan would actually deepen the divisions it was supposed to fix.
CCAP, at its core, is racist.
It's too ambiguous and too subjective.
How dare you teach my child about cultural competence? What makes you the authority on the definition of white privilege? My child does not even know what the word minority means, but you all are going to teach it to him.
This CCAP thing cannot pass.
It has not even been passed, and we can already see the division.
CCAP continues to drive a wedge between our community. CCAP starts with the premise that the majority of Southlake is culturally incompetent.
What's wrong with our culture now? You know, we should not.
It's too white, too racist.
Bullying with racism. Yes, there are some bad apples.
A lot of people are getting tired of white people.
Punish everybody for a few wrongs. Those opposed to CCAP are not a fringe minority in Southlake, as some would like for the community to believe.
They contend that we are all uneducated white racists.
You are.
We are neither white, nor uneducated, nor racist.
We oppose the CCAP not because we're okay with racism, but because we believe it won't help the problem at all.
We need a leader that will enforce the current code of conduct and will reject implementation of the highly politicized CCAP.
Ms. Moore, you cannot shut us up. You cannot keep us quiet. Nobody has any respect for you.
You need to resign, or we will continue to breathe fire upon this corrupt school board. Thank you for your time.
And I felt like all our work is starting to unravel.
We need to pause and hold our government officials, our elected officials, accountable for what they're doing.
Kristen Garcia is suing the district, claiming board members broke the law.
They are accused of communicating in a quorum outside of an authorized meeting.
Less than a month after the CCAP was presented, a parent sued the school board, claiming that they violated the Texas Open Meetings Act by discussing the plan outside of official meetings. Eventually, a judge issued a temporary restraining order, effectively stopping any movement on the CCAP. The lawsuit is still pending, leaving the future of the diversity plan in jeopardy. NBC News reached out to the parent behind the lawsuit and dozens of Southlake residents who opposed the diversity plan through social media, email, text, phone, and in person. Two parents spoke to NBC Nightly News outside of a school board meeting in February 2021.
So the action plan, when you read it, you start to very quickly find out that the cultural competence definition is nowhere in the plan. And in those 34 pages, you find equity, 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 microaggression, never defined. Microaggressions defined as verbal, nonverbal, intentional, unintentional. In other words, it's in the mind of the beholder. The second thing is, what are the consequences? No one's ever spelled out what those consequences might be. Then who adjudicates them? What if somebody's falsely accused? What's the redress?
I have no problem. My kids have no problems. They have never faced any racism at all.
Because they're probably
I don't know how they
part of the
become
problem.
racist. There is no racism here that I know of. My dad always tells me, the faster you assimilate, the sooner you assimilate, the better you will be off. I don't want my kids to be identified as black, as Asian, as person of color. What the hell is a person of color? I want them to be human.
I completely understand that, but there are students here who have spoken out and said that they feel like they've been treated inhumanely.
I understand that. And I support, any way to stop racism. I will fight racism anyway.
Bullshit.
Racism is the worst crime in the world. I'm not saying that there aren't any racism, but to paint the whole town as racist,
it is,
and come up with a plan to change everything, I disagree with that.
No one else opposing the diversity plan agreed to be interviewed on the record. As all of this was happening, a group of students and recent grads began to mobilize in favor of the diversity plan, collecting anonymous reports from students and alumni detailing discrimination they say they faced at Carroll ISD. Some students shared personal experiences at school board meetings, while other students and parents read the anonymous testimonies aloud. They've collected more than 500 so far.
We numbered all of them, and there are 8 copies so that we can give one to each of the school board members. In the 3rd grade, a boy in my class told me to go to the back of the line because that's where slaves belong.
At swim meets, male teammates would yell white power.
In an effort to try to read all 500 of them, we divide them up in our public comment sections.
When I was in 6th grade, our teacher made me stand up and explain to the rest of the class why I was a Christian.
My last name is the same as the Hispanic custodial staff, and classmates said I must be related because there is no way that someone like me could afford to live in Southlake.
2 kids called me a beaner and told me to go back to my country. My teacher heard, she did nothing.
One time in 9th grade, my social studies teacher asked if my dad made bombs for Pakistan.
I'm currently a closeted trans student at CSHS. Just last year in science class, a boy started pressuring the teacher, asking him repeatedly how many genders are there, while all his friends laughed.
No idea what like they call a chain or a bag like
I've forgotten about racism and homophobia in Carroll ISD and other places. I didn't write about suddenly jumped at his coaches. From then on, I realized that no one was really looking to help me.
Honestly, it's hard for me to wrap my head around. It's not your fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's just the system that we're in. But it becomes your fault when you decide not to acknowledge those things.
When has change of this degree ever been easy in history? Never.
You see those problems and you don't want to do anything about them. You want to let them sit there and fester and eat people alive because it's too hard for you to come to terms with them. That's selfish.
Thank you, and Black Lives Matter.
Thank you.
There's this growing divide, and it really shouldn't come down to this. You're being forced to choose one side or the other.
She got one of them high yellow mamas like I got or had.
Video of George Floyd, and I cried. I thought, this is what it means to be Black in America. Then I thought of my city, Southlake.
The city that my husband and I chose to raise our children. My family, like you all, poured their heart and soul into this community for 20 years. We could have run away, but we chose to stay and fight for what we know is absolutely right.
NBC News reached out to Carroll ISD about the multiple allegations of racism and harassment in the school district. A spokesperson emphasized that although the district is still subject to the restraining order, it's working on new processes to make sure students feel safe reporting harassment and discrimination, and to ensure the data is being consistently tracked and investigated. They've also created a new student and staff services division focused on the issue.
Those students to feel not valued, those students who feel unsafe, and we're going to address that. But as a whole, I absolutely believe that people are proud of this community and proud to be a part of Carroll ISD.
There's some big news out of Texas. One Dallas suburb, Southlake,
where a viral video led to a reckoning over race.
Now facing lawsuits over a, quote, cultural competence action plan.
And with power, money, and loud voices on all sides, Southlake didn't just find itself in the media spotlight. With school board elections approaching, it drew the attention of powerful state politicians too.
If you're not invested in making sure that your children are getting a quality education instead of an indoctrination, and the way that that continues on, if we don't get control of these school boards, the most important elected position in the United States of America is school board.
Come on, baby boy. Thank you.
He's sleeping. I guess I need to wake him up. Oh. Somebody's awake.
You know, me being a minority, I experienced personally some issues, but I guess you just get used to it. Listen to those kids, you know, that's a different story. Couldn't believe that I was so disconnected. For me personally, that bubble just exploded, just broke my heart. Yes, buddy.
Good job.
This year, there are two open spots for the Carroll ISD School Board, 2 city council seats, and a mayoral race. And the local elections have become a symbol for much bigger tensions in Southlake and across the country.
Can you see it? Can you see it?
While the fate of the CCAP may be in limbo, Ed still believes there needs to be some kind of diversity plan for the school district.
People think that I have a huge team behind me. The reality is that it's just me and my wife. So this is the headquarters. This is my home office. This box is the marketing department. And let's see what else we have in here. Oh, my ethics complaint. Somebody complained that my signs were not perfectly according to the law. Political contributions, $3,405. Oh, here it is. January 23rd, 2021. I never knew what I was signing up for. It's just a campaign for a school board, and I feel that I'm like I don't know, like running against this machine.
The machine that Ed's talking about, it's an organization called the Southlake Families PAC. In late summer of 2020, a group of conservative parents in the town formed a political action committee and quickly raised over $200,000 to block the diversity plan. They criticized the school district for setting up a diversity police instead of focusing on the classroom, and demand that their traditional way of life be protected. The PAC condemns racism and says it's rare in Southlake. They've acted the lawsuit against the school board. Now they've thrown their hat into the local elections too. The PAC describes itself as unapologetically rooted in Judeo-Christian values and has handpicked 2 school board candidates to run against the Carroll ISD diversity plan, including Ed's opponent.
My name is Hannah Smith, and
She's a conservative lawyer who once clerked for Supreme Court Justices Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito.
I have said very publicly that I am against the CCAP. It infringes on the right to freedom of speech by tracking subjective and even unintentional so-called microaggressions. I think we need to enforce the student code of conduct and celebrate our diversity. Thank you so much.
She declined multiple interview requests from NBC News. Hannah and Ed live in the same neighborhood, 5 blocks apart.
You know, prior to a year
Typical carrot
ago,
nose
when all of
racist
this
bitch.
happened, I felt really pretty happy here. This is a beautiful place with, you know, shiny people, and I sort of had a moral moment of conscience with myself that I am going to stop seeing the best in people. If these people show me who they are, we should believe them. Hi, my name is Jennifer. I'm a volunteer in Southlake, calling on behalf of our local elections. I'm supporting our moderate to progressive candidates. Remember, your voice is your vote, and these local elections are very important. Have a good day. I think today the goal is to get through 600 phone calls. It's a slog to try to reach as many people as we can. I've never had signs in my yard. You know, I've never stood on a corner and held a sign supporting a candidate. I've never done this kind of calling of a list and keeping up with the numbers to see how many people are voting and things like that. But I feel like we're at a crossroads. Hey guys, come on down. You should actually set the table and everything. And we are about done, I think. Make sure you get some vegetables. Yeah, you get the same blessing today.
High yellow black family. Wonder how that works out for him in Southlake.
Say if you could go back in time, you could grow up in a different area of town or even different area of the country.
I think it would have been a different experience if we even just went to like Grapevine right next door, but I don't know if I would have wanted that or not.
How do you feel about us standing up?
I think the changing point was like the video when it got public and then South got exposed, and then like all the parents couldn't see them.
You've got 2 more years here. Hopefully, you will see some change.
Probably not. It'll change. Just maybe not now.
Hit it again. Verizon has been named America's most reliable network by RootMetrics, and our customers rated us #1 for network quality in America, according to J.D. Power, proving there's only one best network.
Oh. Well, and the presidential election was like 65-35. So it was, yes, but I want to believe that it's not a reflection of this what's going on. But because I have been trying really hard not to make this a partisan race. This is about the kids, and this is about doing the right thing. If we manage to get all our supporters out, yes, we win. I'm here, 8 a.m., ready to go. I have been anxiously waiting for this day. I'm ready for this to be over. Good morning.
Voters are turning out for the spring election in Tarrant County in record numbers. There has been more scrutiny of local government decisions, from counties to cities to local school boards.
We made it. It was interesting to see my name on the ballot, and at least I got 1 vote. So. That one is upside down, buddy. There you go.
knew that the results would come in quickly. By the time we got to her house, the election was already over.
Before I even had the opportunity to say hi to anybody, he said to me, so what are the results are out?
5,000 something. They blew us out.
And Hernandez didn't get shit.
When you lose, I think it was 70-30. What do you do?
I wasn't expecting.
You move, you go and buy some land and build a house on it with a wall around your house.
Let me take a little bit of a sip of wine first.
Just don't understand why these people
I want to thank you, everyone.
want to stay in a place where they're not wanted.
Right, but I know I had a lot of effort. I want to tell those kids that hear their stories that this is not over. Thank you, everyone.
He is an American hero. He is a true patriot. And he is the man that has made pecan pie the most famous dessert in Southlake, Texas. Please welcome Alan West.
I think the numbers, we all was 41%. That's incredible. 70 to 30% was the separation. You have to put this in a white paper. You have to make a video. You got to make sure that you export this to every single major suburban area in the United States of America outside of a blue control city. You sons of bitches, piece of
A plan to diversify a Queens school district is prompting a protest from parents tonight.
A marathon day today for the Palm Beach County Public School Board.
Parents lining the sidewalk at the Cobb County School Board. The North Allegheny Board of School Directors listened Wednesday.
Fed up parents there have launched a fiery new ad campaign.
Dozens of parents rallied this evening. They were
By late spring of 2021, the battle over diversity and equity had spread to school districts across the country.
Parents, wake up.
As local fights broke out, driven by opposition from parents, many conservative groups seized on the idea that diversity plans were Trojan horses for bringing critical race theory into public education.
Critical race theory.
Critical race theory.
Critical race theory.
Critical race theory is a decades-old academic concept arguing that racism is embedded in legal and social systems.
There is no systemic racism.
It's a Marxist ideology, and we all know it.
Equity is a critical race theory term. This week, Governor Greg Abbott signed a bill into law that bans critical race theory from Texas schools, but he says more needs to be done.
We're 3 years into this process, and we have gotten nowhere. I don't know if I see a path forward for our community at this point. We're so divided. But I know in my heart that the world will spin towards justice.
You just need to pick up the pieces and move on. You know, that's the story of my life.
While this election is over, within the next year, there'll be 3 more school board seats up for grabs in Southlake, and Ed is considering forming his own political action committee to compete with Southlake families.
That's the future. Maybe me running again or whoever it is. We need to create that machine. I'm such a rescuer. I have to do something when something is broken, when something is to be fixed. It's really hard for me to don't do anything. My dad used to say that the line is really thin between being a good person and being stupid. I need to figure that out, where the line is. I struggle a lot with that.
I, Hannah Smith, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of Carroll ISD trustee. So help me God.
Ms. Jones?
I have noticed on social media that a lot of people think that now that the election is over, we can go back to normal. Unfortunately, that is not the case. You all have a moral and legal obligation in making sure that every single dragon has a safe learning environment, and you have so far woefully failed. So I come out of the grocery store today, and this is what I see on my back windshield with my son in the car. And I immediately call my husband. He says, well, we know where we live now. Southlake. 20 years and nothing like this had ever happened before. This just made me dig my heels in more. I'm not going anywhere.
It's just the environment, the people, the culture, the Southlake bubble. Every time I leave it, I feel significantly happier. It's like a weight is lifted.
Okay, you were next.
Okay. At least I can say that, if anything, when all the dust settles, I was on the right side of history. I'm just really looking forward to being able to move on and start that new chapter.
Good evening, class of 2021. These values and lessons that Carol has given to us are the traditions that we are to protect. It is different for each and every one of us and uniquely valuable. Whatever this dragon tradition may mean to you, I look forward to seeing where it will take you. Congratulations, class of 2021, and thank you.
Into the class of seniors of 2021. Class dismissed.
Well, that was interesting to say the least. Just another highly racist, anti-black suburb in America. Well, Southlake, Texas is really no different than the suburbs like Cicero, like Howell, Fowlerville, Livonia, places with a high concentration of whites, older whites, that can't die out fast enough, that hold this anti-black racism close to their heart. What I saw was a lot of the black people that were in Southlake probably had the same attitude like my grandparents, wanted to assimilate and be included in a population that's dominated by whites. Can't reason with racist people. Can't reason with anti-black racists. Just have to neutralize them.